Every spiritual tradition in human history has pointed to two words as the most operative force in the universe, not as a prayer, not as an affirmation, as a law. Ernest Holmes spent 40 years decoding this mechanism and arrived at a conclusion that demolishes everything you have been taught about power. You have been told you possess power. You have been told you can access power. You have been told you can attract power. Every one of those statements is wrong. You are not a receiver of power. You are not a channel of power. You do not have power. You are the power. And the two-word law that activates this, I am, is not a declaration. It is a command to the entire field of reality. The moment you complete that sentence, the field must obey. You have been here before, not in this specific place, perhaps, but in this specific feeling, the feeling of standing at the edge of a breakthrough that keeps refusing to arrive. You have visualized with precision. You have affirmed with consistency. You have prayed, surrendered, released, and trusted. You have read the books that promised the mechanism and attended the seminars that promised the system. And yet the gap remains, the specific, private, unmistakable gap between the depth of what you know and the poverty of what you have. That gap is not evidence of your failure. It is not evidence of the law's failure. It is evidence of a single architectural error that has been operating beneath the level at which every technique you have ever used was applied. The error is not in your effort. The error is not in your sincerity. The error is in the fundamental assumption you have been making about what you are in relationship to power. Every technique in the canon of New Thought, every affirmation, every visualization, every treatment, every prayer was designed to be operated by someone who has already understood what they are. When that understanding is absent, the technique becomes a ritual performed by a limited self attempting to influence an external force. And a limited self petitioning an external force is precisely the architecture that produces precisely the results you have been experiencing. The tool is not broken. The identity of the one holding it is misunderstood. Holmes spent 4 decades arriving at a correction so precise it dissolves the problem at its root. The I am is not a tool you wield. It is the identity you are. It is not a key you use to open a door. It is the recognition that you were never outside the building. The moment you stop treating power as something to be acquired, something to be attracted, channeled, or granted, and recognize that you are its only operative point in your immediate reality, every technique you have ever tried becomes instantly functional for the first time, not because the technique changed, because the identity operating it changed. And in Holmes's system, identity is not context. Identity is everything. What follows in this video is not an introduction to Ernest Holmes. It is a precise decoding of his most fundamental and least understood revelation, that the I am is not a name for God in the third person. It is the name you share with God, the operative identity through which the entire field of causation flows. We will establish what this means mechanically. We will show exactly how the subconscious receives and executes the I am declaration. We will walk through the complete operative protocol Holmes derived from this understanding, step by precise step, so that by the end of this video, you are not holding an idea. You are holding a working instrument. We will also enter part 3 with the precision of an engineer examining a blueprint, because the I am is, in Holmes' exact terms, a mold. Everything that follows those two words is poured into that mold as liquid substance, and the field organizes itself around the shape of what was declared. Most people who study this principle are applying it correctly on the surface and catastrophically incorrectly at the level of structure. We will dismantle each structural error with the specificity it requires, identify the precise corrections, and replace approximation with law. But there is something you must know before we proceed, something Holmes called the greatest poverty in metaphysics. There is a specific way the I am is being completed in your mind right now, silently, without your awareness, in the moments between your deliberate practice. And that silent completion is guaranteeing the precise opposite of what your deliberate practice is attempting to build. We will name it. We will locate it in your specific experience. We will dismantle it in Part 4 with the same precision a surgeon applies to a structural correction, not with judgment, but with diagnostic certainty. If this law is now yours to operate, then remain in this laboratory. Write the words, "I am the power," in the comments below, not as a reaction to this video, not as a gesture of agreement. Write them as your first operative decree, as the first completion of the I am that you issue with full understanding of what you are commanding. The law responds to declaration. Begin now. Ernest Holmes did not teach power as a commodity. He did not teach it as a gift, a reward, an achievement, or a capacity that could be developed through sufficient practice. He taught it as an identity, and the distinction between those two categories is not philosophical. It is the precise mechanical difference between a life in which the law operates and a life in which it does not. When power is treated as a commodity, the self that seeks it remains separate from it. It is over there. You are over here. The entire architecture of seeking, of affirming, of visualizing, of attracting, presupposes that gap. And the gap, once presupposed, cannot be closed by any technique, because the technique itself is built upon the assumption of distance. Holmes grounded his entire science of mind in a single axiomatic declaration. There is one universal mind, one infinite intelligence, one first cause. And it is the only thing that exists, not the most powerful thing, not the highest thing in a hierarchy of things, the only thing. Everything that appears to be separate, every individual, every object, every circumstance, is not a fragment broken off from this one. It is the one, expressing itself in a specific localized form. This is not a poetic way of saying that you are connected to something greater. It is the precise logical consequence of a universe in which there is only one substance and one intelligence. There are no separate receivers of power. There is only the one power, appearing as you, in this moment, in this form, at this specific point of expression. The I am, therefore, is not a technique you apply to reality. It is reality announcing its own presence through the specific form it has taken in you. When you say I am, you are not a human being reaching upward toward a divine intelligence and requesting cooperation. You are the divine intelligence itself, expressing downward, or more precisely, inward, into the specific experience called your life. Holmes was unambiguous about this. He wrote that the individual is not a shadow of God, not a reflection of God, not a child of God in the sense of being separate from the parent. The individual is the self-expression of the infinite at a specific point in space and time. The thinker thinking through this mind is the same thinker that organized the cosmos. There is no other thinker. This distinction carries immediate mechanical consequences. If you have power, if power is something you possess as an attribute, then there are conditions under which you might not have it. It could be depleted. It could be blocked. It could be withheld. The logic of having always implies the possibility of not having. But if you are the power, if the power is not an attribute of the self, but the identity of the self, then there is no condition under which it is absent. It cannot be blocked because there is no path for it to travel. It is not traveling toward you. It is what you are. The only question is whether you have declared that identity or whether you have declared a lesser one in its place. Holmes taught that the infinite intelligence expresses itself as the individual not in moments of enlightenment or elevated spiritual states, but constantly, without interruption, without exception. The first cause is not selectively present. It is the substance of every moment of your experience, regardless of whether that experience appears abundant or impoverished, healthy or diseased, connected or isolated. The difference between those conditions is not the presence or absence of the power. The power is always fully present. The difference is in the identity that has been declared into it, the mold that has been handed to the first cause as its instruction. A mold of limitation poured into infinite substance produces limited form. Not because the substance is limited, because the mold was. Consider what Holmes is asking you to accept here, not as a matter of faith, but as a matter of logic. If there is one intelligence, and that intelligence is operating as you, then the thoughts you think are not thoughts about the field of reality. They are thoughts of the field of reality occurring within it, as it. The thinker who decides I am lacking is not a separate observer commenting on a reality outside itself. It is the first cause, directing itself toward a specific pattern of expression. And the first cause, by its own nature, cannot fail to produce what it directs itself toward. This is why Holmes insisted that the law works with mathematical certainty. It does not sometimes work. It does not work for those with sufficient faith. It works always completely, without exception, because it is not a law that can be broken. It is the mechanism by which consciousness itself operates. This understanding transforms the entire landscape of your spiritual practice. You have not been failing to apply a law that works for others, but not for you. You have been successfully applying the law, but you have been applying it to a mistaken identity. The I am declarations you have been making deliberately, the ones in your affirmations and treatments and prayers, were correct in form, but they were operating against the current of a far larger and far more constant set of I am declarations. The unconscious ones, the habitual ones, the ones embedded so deeply in your self-concept that you do not recognize them as declarations at all. You think they are simply descriptions of reality. Holmes says they are its cause. The I am is Holmes's term for what he called first cause, the point at which consciousness initiates a pattern in the subconscious soil, which then organizes all circumstances, conditions, and experiences to match it. This is not a metaphysical assertion that requires faith. It is the logical consequence of the axiomatic premise. If there is one substance, and consciousness is that substance, and the I am is the operative command of consciousness, then the I am is literally the only cause of anything that appears in your experience. There is no other cause. External circumstances are not causes. They are effects of previous I am declarations that have completed their arc from cause to form. What you are experiencing today is the precise architectural product of what was declared through the I am at some point in your past, operating with the inevitable accuracy of a mathematical equation. The liberation in this understanding is absolute and immediate. If the cause is the I am, and the I am is not an external force but your own operative identity, then the cause is entirely within your jurisdiction. You are not waiting for circumstances to change so that you can feel different about yourself. You are changing the I am declaration, which is the only cause of circumstances, which means the circumstances must reorganize to match the new declaration, not might, must. Holmes used the word mathematical not as a figure of speech, but as a precise description of the relationship between cause and effect in consciousness. The field does not deliberate. It does not evaluate worthiness. It does not compare your current declaration to your historical one and weight the average. It responds to the current operative declaration with total immediacy and total accuracy. Holmes draws a distinction that every student of this material must engrave in their understanding. He distinguishes between the personal self, the accumulated history, the habits, the fears, the conditioned beliefs, and the I am. The personal self is not the I am. The personal self is what the I am has declared itself to be through years of incomplete or unconscious application of the law. The I am itself is prior to all of that. It is the thinker before the thoughts. It is the first cause before the effects. It is the ocean before the wave. The personal self can be thoroughly convinced of its limitation. The I am is never limited. It is simply awaiting a declaration that matches its own infinite nature. And you, the reader, the listener, the practitioner who has spent years working toward this understanding, are the I am. Not a version of it, not a fraction of it, the full operative expression of it, localized in your specific life in this specific moment. Holmes was careful to distinguish this teaching from ego inflation, from the mistake of believing that the personal personality, with all its preferences and opinions and biographical history, is the infinite. The I am is not the personal self elevated to divine status. It is the recognition that beneath the personal self, beneath every story you have told about who you are, every limitation you have accepted, every condition you have believed to be fixed, there is a prior identity that has never been limited, that has never petitioned for what it already is, and that is the actual operative point of causation in your life. The work is not to build that identity. It already exists. The work is to remove the declarations that obscure it. Holmes calls this removal a treatment, a spiritual mind treatment. And it is not a prayer asking God for assistance. It is the first cause declaring its own nature into the subconscious soil, where it takes root as a pattern that the entire system, body, behavior, circumstance, must organize itself around. The treatment works not because the practitioner is convincing God to intervene. It works because the I am is God, In the precise sense, Holmes means the individualized operative expression of the one universal mind, declaring its own identity with the full force of first cause. When that declaration is clear, complete, and consistent, the subconscious receives it as law, not as suggestion, as law. It follows that the most important question you can ask yourself, more important than any technique you can adopt, any affirmation you can construct, any visualization you can practice, is this: what is the I am declaring right now, beneath the level of your deliberate intention? What identity has been impressed so deeply in the subconscious soil that it operates as the default blueprint from which your entire life is being organized? Because whatever that declaration is, the law is executing it with perfect precision. Holmes does not leave room for a universe that sometimes obeys and sometimes does not. The law is always on. The question is only what you have commanded it to produce. We are now standing at the threshold of the mechanical architecture. We have established what the I am is, not symbolically, but operatively. We have established that it is not a tool you apply, but an identity you are. We have established that the field has no choice but to organize itself around the identity you have declared. Not because you are fortunate, not because you have earned this right, but because this is the mechanical structure of how consciousness operates as first cause. Everything that follows is the precise instruction manual for operating this law with the accuracy and consistency that produces results that are, in Holmes's exact words, mathematically inevitable. Proceed with this understanding in place. What follows is not inspiration, it is engineering. Begin with the image Holmes himself would have recognized and endorsed: the wave and the ocean. A wave does not have the ocean's power. It does not receive the ocean's power when conditions are favorable. It does not attract the ocean's power through correct practice. The wave is the ocean's power localized in a specific form, moving in a specific direction at a specific moment. The ocean is not behind the wave, supporting it from a distance. The ocean is what the wave is made of, what it is moving as, and what it will return to when its specific form completes its arc. There is no division between the wave's substance and the ocean's substance. There is one substance. The apparent division is a matter of form, not of being. Holmes' I am law operates with identical mechanics. You are not a human being who, under the right spiritual conditions, can access a divine power that exists at a level above your ordinary nature. You are the localized expression of the one power, the wave that is the ocean, appearing in the specific form called your life, at the specific coordinates called now. When you say I am, you are not a wave petitioning the ocean for more force. You are the ocean declaring its own nature through the specific aperture it has taken as you. The I am is not a request submitted upward. It is an announcement issued outward, a declaration of identity that the subconscious receives as its operating instructions, and which the field then organizes all circumstances to confirm. Now, consider what happens when the wave forgets what it is. Not in a cosmic sense, in a practical, mechanical sense. The wave that believes itself to be separate from the ocean does not thereby become separate. The substance does not change. The power does not diminish. But the wave's behavior changes entirely because it is now operating from a false premise about its own identity. It conserves, it protects, it contracts, it petitions the ocean for what it already is. And the subconscious, which receives these behavioral declarations as identity statements, organizes the body and the circumstances to match the contracted identity that has been declared. This is not punishment. This is not cosmic irony. This is the precise, impersonal, mechanical consequence of issuing an incorrect identity declaration to a system that executes instructions without evaluation or resistance. Holmes was not speaking in poetry when he said that man's suffering is always the result of a wrong concept of himself. He meant this with clinical precision. The suffering is not caused by external circumstances that are themselves caused by bad luck or hostile forces, or the arbitrary dispensation of fate. The suffering is caused by the subconscious executing the blueprint it has been given, executing it with perfect fidelity to the instruction set, and producing the exact physical and circumstantial equivalent of the identity that was declared. The man who declares, "I am lacking," does not receive lack as a response to his declaration. He is the ocean declaring itself shallow. And the first cause, which can only produce the form of the mold it receives, produces a shallow form with the same precision it would apply to a declaration of infinite depth. This is the principle that makes the I Am so different in kind from every other technique in the New Thought arsenal. An affirmation is a thought you direct toward reality from the outside. A visualization is an image you project toward the field as a request. But the I Am is not a thought directed toward something. It is the first cause declaring its own identity, and the field is not its target. The field is its body. When you change the I Am declaration, you are not sending a new instruction to something external. You are changing the identity of the cause itself. And when the cause changes, the effect does not need to be coaxed, attracted, or invited. It reorganizes automatically, completely, with the same mathematical certainty that governs every other causal relationship in the universe. Consider the logical structure Holmes builds here. If there is one substance, one universal mind, one field of infinite intelligence and infinite possibility, then every condition you experience is a specific form of that one substance, shaped by the mold of the consciousness that is expressing through you. The mold is the I Am declaration. The substance is the universal mind, which is also the identity you truly are. The form is your life, your health, your finances, your relationships, the texture and quality of every day you experience. If the mold is small, the form is small, not because the substance is small, but because the mold cannot hold more than it is shaped to receive. Holmes is explicit. The capacity of your life to hold abundance is not determined by the abundance available. The abundance is infinite. The capacity is determined entirely by the identity declaration, by the shape of the I Am. It follows with precise logical necessity that expanding the life does not require attracting more abundance. The abundance is already fully present. It is the substance of which everything is made. Expanding the life requires expanding the mold, and expanding the mold means expanding the I Am declaration, not as an aspiration, not as something you are working toward, but as a present tense identity statement issued with the certainty of first cause, accepted by the subconscious as law, and executed by the field as the only reality available to it. This is not optimism. This is not positive thinking in the conventional sense. This is the mechanical consequence of understanding that you are the cause, that the I am is the mold, and that the field, which is your own deeper nature, has no alternative but to fill the mold you present to it. The wave and the ocean analogy also illuminate something Holmes was careful to emphasize. The identity does not need to be earned. The ocean does not require the wave to perform sufficient spiritual practice before restoring its nature to it. The wave never lost its nature. The separation was never real in substance, only in declaration. The moment the wave recognizes what it is, not hopes to be, not is working toward being, but is, the restoration is instantaneous. This is why Holmes's system is so different from systems of spiritual development, in which the practitioner gradually accumulates virtue, practice, and merit until eventually the divine condescends to grant its power. In Holmes's system, there is no condescension, no gradual accumulation, no merit threshold. There is only the recognition, the declaration, and the instantaneous mechanical consequence of having issued the correct identity statement to a system that executes it without delay. There is another dimension of this principle that Holmes developed with great precision. The field does not evaluate the quality of your identity declaration. It does not compare it to some standard of spiritual correctness. It does not grant partial credit for effort or good intention. The subconscious is completely impersonal. It receives the I am completion, whatever follows those two words, and executes it as absolute law. The wave that declares itself powerful receives the full organizational force of the ocean behind that declaration. The wave that declares itself limited receives the full organizational force of the ocean behind that declaration instead. The ocean does not withhold itself from the limited wave as a punishment. It simply executes the declaration it received with the same total commitment it applies to every other instruction. This impersonality of the law is not its cruelty. It is its perfection. An impersonal law can be corrected. A personal one that dispenses favor based on merit or history, cannot be reliably operated because you can never be certain whether you have accumulated sufficient merit. An impersonal law simply requires the correct declaration, and the correct declaration is available to you in this exact moment. We must also address the question of time, because Holmes is precise about this as well. The I am has no future tense. It has no past tense. It operates exclusively in the present. The ocean is not powerful in some future state of ideal conditions. It is the power now in its current form, regardless of the weather on its surface or the turbulence in its depths. When you say, I am the power, you are not declaring a future state you intend to arrive at. You are declaring the identity that already exists as your true nature, beneath every story, beneath every accumulated evidence to the contrary. The declaration does not create the power. It reveals the power that was never absent, and the subconscious, which cannot distinguish between the declared identity and the existing reality, which treats the declaration as the reality, reorganizes every aspect of your experience to match the identity that has been revealed. Holmes would say this: the entire spiritual practice of a lifetime can be compressed into one continuous action, the action of maintaining the correct I am, not building toward it, not preparing for it, not working up to it through sufficient merit, maintaining it, holding it in place against the constant gravitational pull of habitual, unconscious, contradictory I am, completions that have been operating as the default blueprint for years, perhaps decades. The challenge is not metaphysical, it is not mystical, it is mechanical. It is the challenge of consistency, of maintaining the identity declaration with the same unwavering certainty that the ocean maintains its depth regardless of what is happening on its surface. The surface may be turbulent, the current circumstances may be the precise product of all the limited I am declarations that preceded today. None of that is evidence against the law. All of it is evidence of its perfect operation. And the same perfect operation that produced the current conditions will, with equal precision, produce the conditions that match the new declaration. Once that declaration is issued consistently, completely, and without internal contradiction. This is the logic that cannot be argued with, because it is not a matter of argument. It is the structure of causation itself. Cause precedes effect. Consciousness is cause. The I am is the operative command of consciousness. The field is the medium through which the command is executed. The circumstances are the form the execution takes. Change the command, change the I am, and the field must reorganize. There is no force in the universe that can prevent this reorganization, because there is no force in the universe that operates outside this law. The wave that knows itself as the ocean does not petition the ocean for power. It has stopped petitioning entirely. It has made the only declaration that was ever available to it, and the ocean, being what it always was, simply flows through it now without restriction. 2.2 has established the unshakable logical architecture. The mechanic is clear. The I am is the mold, the field is the substance, and the subconscious executes every I am completion as absolute law. The question that remains is not whether this is true. Holmes removes that question. The question that remains is operational. Precisely, how is the I am completion constructed, maintained, and guarded against the specific errors that have been silently dismantling it? That question is answered in what follows. The I am functions as a mold. This is Holmes's central operative metaphor. And unlike most metaphors in spiritual literature, this one is intended with complete technical precision. A mold is not a suggestion. It is not a request. It is a form into which substance is poured, and the substance, being liquid by nature, has no alternative but to conform exactly to the shape of the container it occupies. Holmes taught that the subconscious mind, the deep field of intelligence that organizes the body, behavior, and circumstance, is precisely this substance. It has no shape of its own. It takes the shape it is given. It does not argue with the shape. It does not evaluate whether the shape is wise, beneficial, or deserved. It simply fills it completely and without remainder to the precise edges of the mold presented to it. The mold is the I am declaration. Every word that follows I am is the architecture of the container into which the subconscious pours the full force of the universal mind. Consider the implications of this with care, because they are more radical than they may initially appear. If every word that follows I am is architecture, if it is not description but instruction, not statement but command, then every I am completion you have ever made has been an absolute and perfectly executed order to the field of reality that operates as your life. When you said, "I am tired," you were not reporting a condition. You were issuing a command to an intelligence that cannot refuse. When you said, "I am not good enough," you were not expressing an emotion. You were handing the subconscious a blueprint with the force of law. When you said, "I am stuck," "I am afraid," "I am always struggling," each of those completions was received by a system that treats them as categorical, non-negotiable identity declarations and organized your biochemistry, your perception, your opportunities, and your circumstances to produce the exact physical and experiential equivalent of the form you declared. Holmes taught that the subconscious is completely impersonal in its execution. This word, impersonal, is the key to understanding both the problem and its solution. Impersonal means it makes no distinctions based on your history, your worthiness, your intentions, or the emotional tone with which the declaration was made. It does not give more weight to the "I am" statements you made with conscious deliberation than to the ones you muttered under your breath in a moment of frustration. It does not exempt the "I am" statements you made with deep feeling from the ones you issued casually. It receives them all with identical absolute authority, and it executes them all with identical precision. This means that the distance between your deliberate spiritual practice and your habitual subconscious declarations is not a margin of error. It is the precise measurement of the internal contradiction that has been preventing the law from producing consistent results. The operative sequence Holmes describes is 3 movements, each one dependent on the one that precedes it. The first movement is the declaration, the explicit, present tense, unqualified identity statement. Not "I will be," not "I am becoming," "I am." And what follows must be identity, not outcome. Not "I am going to be wealthy," not because this declares a future state and simultaneously declares the present state to be its opposite. I am the source through which this supply flows, because this declares an identity that, if established in the subconscious as law, produces the supply as its natural and inevitable consequence. Holmes is precise. The field responds to what you are, never to what you want. Wanting is the declaration of not having. Being is the declaration of identity. And it is identity, not desire, that the first cause executes. The second movement is the feeling of the reality of the declaration as already complete. Holmes was explicit that this is not visualization of a future state. It is not imagining what it will feel like when the declaration is fulfilled. It is the present tense embodiment of the identity that has been declared, the feeling of already being the source, already being the power, already being the intelligence that resolves this specific situation. This feeling is not manufactured enthusiasm. It is the deep inner settling of a person who has made a declaration they know to be true. The kind of certainty that a geologist has when they identify a rock formation, or that a mathematician has when they complete a proof. It is not excitement. It is the quiet, absolute, imperturbable certainty of someone who is not hoping the law will work. They know it is working because they are it. The third movement is the refusal to contradict the declaration. And this is where most practitioners fail, not from lack of effort, but from lack of understanding of what a contradiction actually is. A contradiction is not merely saying, "I am limited," after having said, "I am the power." A contradiction is any "I am" completion that points however subtly, toward the absence of what has been declared. It is, I am tired, when tiredness has been declared as part of your operative identity. It is, I am struggling, when struggle is accepted as a legitimate description of your current state rather than recognized as the echoing product of a previous declaration. Holmes taught that the mold must remain consistent for the substance to set. Concrete does not set when the mold is removed every few minutes. It requires that the mold hold its shape without interruption until the substance has fully conformed. The I am declaration is the mold. The substance is the subconscious response. And the substance is always in the process of setting, always in the process of reorganizing the field to match the declaration. But it requires the consistency of the mold to complete the process. There is a deeper layer of this principle that Holmes addresses explicitly, the relationship between the spoken I am and the felt I am. Holmes understood that human beings operate simultaneously on multiple levels of declaration: the verbal, the emotional, and the deep subconscious. The verbal level is where most practitioners work. They construct correct I am declarations and repeat them with disciplined consistency. But the felt level, the level at which the emotional body is constantly declaring its own identity, often contradicts the verbal level entirely. You may be saying, I am the source of my supply, while simultaneously feeling the anxiety of someone who does not know how the bills will be paid. That feeling is not a symptom of circumstances. It is itself an I am declaration, a felt declaration that says, I am uncertain, I am at risk, I am insufficient. And the subconscious, which receives felt declarations with equal authority as spoken ones, is holding two contradictory molds simultaneously. The result is not an average of the two. The result is a cancellation, a field receiving contradictory commands that produces the incoherent results that the practitioner then interprets as the law failing to work. Holmes's resolution is not to suppress the feeling or to force a counterfeit emotional state. The resolution is to trace the feeling back to its source, to the I am declaration that generated it, and to correct the declaration at that level. This is the work of spiritual mind treatment in its most precise application. You do not treat the anxiety. You identify the I am that produced the anxiety, the declaration of identity, as insufficient, as vulnerable, as separate from the source. And you replace it with the declaration that is true at the level of the I am. I am the first cause expressing as this specific life in this specific moment. I am the intelligence that already contains the resolution of this. And the feeling, the genuine feeling that follows from that declaration, not manufactured, but arising naturally from the truth of what has been declared, is the confirmation that the mold has been set. Holmes was not simply offering a technique for improving circumstances. He was offering a complete re-architecture of the self's relationship to first cause. The I am as mold is not a new practice to be added to your existing spiritual toolkit. It is the recognition that every practice you have ever engaged in was either succeeding or failing, based on the mold that was in place when you applied it. Affirmations applied by an I am that believes itself limited are affirmations poured into a cracked mold. They leak. They produce partial results, inconsistent results, results that arrive and then dissolve, because the mold itself was issuing a contradictory instruction at a deeper level. Replace the mold. Establish the I am declaration at the level of identity, not technique. And every practice you have ever used becomes operative for the first time. The affirmations are still the same words. The visualizations are still the same images. But the mold into which they are being poured is now the correct one, and the substance has no alternative but to set in the shape of the law. The consistency requirement deserves one more clarification before we move to the protocol. Holmes does not mean that you must achieve a state of perfect, unbroken conscious awareness, in which no contradictory thought ever enters your mind. That is not the standard he sets, because it is not humanly achievable with any consistency. And it is not what the law requires. What the law requires is the habitual default background declaration, the one that is operating when you are not deliberately attending to it. This is the level at which the subconscious takes its primary instructions, not from your moments of peak practice, but from the ambient identity that surrounds those moments. The question Holmes is asking you is not whether you can produce a perfect I am declaration in your moments of deliberate focus. The question is, what is the I am declaring in the space between your deliberate declarations? What identity is operating as the background frequency of your self-concept? Because that background frequency is the actual mold that the subconscious is receiving as law. And until that background frequency changes, until the I am that operates by default declares the power, the source, the first cause, the deliberate declarations will continue to fight upstream against it, and the results will continue to reflect the battle rather than the victory. We are now at the threshold of the operative protocol, the step-by-step architecture of how to construct, establish, and maintain the I am declaration in a way that the subconscious must accept as law. Holmes did not leave this as a philosophical ideal. He specified the mechanics. The mechanics are what follow. The operative protocol Holmes derived from the I am law is not a collection of inspirational suggestions. It is a sequential technical process, and the sequence matters. Like any engineered system, performing the steps out of order or omitting one produces a predictably different result from the one the system was designed to produce. The 3 steps that follow are not options to be adopted selectively based on personal preference. They are the complete operative sequence, and each step is a non-negotiable prerequisite for the one that follows it. Step 1 is the audit. For 1 full day, beginning from the moment you hear this instruction, you will observe every I am statement you make, whether spoken aloud or formed silently in the inner monologue that runs beneath your conscious attention. This is not a philosophical exercise. This is the most critical diagnostic procedure available to a practitioner of this law, because it makes visible the actual instruction set that has been running in the background of your life. Holmes called this the inventory of the current blueprint, and the metaphor is exact. A blueprint is not a wish. It is a precise technical document that a builder follows without interpretation, without modification, without editorial judgment. The subconscious is this builder. It does not read your blueprint and decide which parts seem reasonable. It builds exactly what is drawn. The audit is the process of reading for the first time what has actually been drawn. What you will discover in this audit, if you conduct it with genuine precision, will be both illuminating and confronting. You will discover that the vast majority of your I am completions are declarations of limitation, fatigue, uncertainty, and unworthiness, and that they are not occasional lapses in an otherwise positive self-concept. They are the structural foundation of it. I am so tired. I am always the one who has to figure this out. I am not the kind of person who succeeds at that. I am worried this will not work. I am not sure I can do this. Each of these is a decree. Each one is a specific shape handed to the subconscious as an instruction for the mold it must fill. Holmes is not asking you to feel bad about this discovery. He is asking you to receive it with the same calm diagnostic precision that a physician brings to a blood test result. This is data. It is the most precise data available about why your life looks the way it looks. And data of this kind is not a verdict, it is a starting point. Step 2 is the replacement. For every I am declaration of limitation identified in the audit, you will construct its operative opposite. And the language must be precise, because the precision of the language is the precision of the mold. This is not the construction of an affirmation. An affirmation is a positive statement about a desired condition. A replacement in Holmes's system is an identity declaration, a statement of what you are, not of what you have or what you want. The distinction is the entire architecture of the law. I am attracting more money is a statement about a desired condition, spoken by a self who does not yet have the condition, which means it simultaneously declares, I am someone who is currently without this condition. The field receives both parts of that declaration and executes both. I am the source through which this supply flows is a statement of identity. It says nothing about the future, makes no request, and leaves no implied absence. It declares what the speaker is, present tense, and the field can only respond by organizing itself around the identity that has been declared. The language of replacement must always claim identity, never outcome. I am tired becomes, I am the vitality that is the nature of the universal mind expressing as this body. I am worried becomes, I am the intelligence that already contains the resolution of this. I am not good enough becomes, I am the complete expression of the infinite in this moment, requiring no addition and no correction. These replacements are not lies you are telling yourself to feel better. They are the correction of a prior lie. The lie that the limited self-concept was ever an accurate description of the identity that stands behind it. Holmes is asking you to stop reporting on the wave's surface conditions and start declaring the ocean's depth. The surface conditions are real as effects. The ocean's depth is real as cause. Your declaration determines which of these realities the subconscious treats as its operative instruction. The construction of the replacement declarations requires a specific quality of attention that Holmes describes as the attention of the craftsman. You are not hastily substituting one word for another. You are deliberately, carefully, with full awareness of what you are doing, handing a new blueprint to the most powerful building system in existence. Each word matters. Each word is architecture. Take the I am declarations of limitation that your audit revealed, the most persistent ones, the ones that appear most frequently, the ones that carry the heaviest emotional weight, and spend deliberate time with each one, constructing the replacement with care. Feel the replacement as you construct it not as an aspiration, but as a recognition. As the first moment, you are accurately naming what was always true at the level of the I am, beneath all the years of accumulated misdeclaration. Step 3 is the maintenance, and here Holmes is among the most unambiguous teachers in the entire canon of New Thought. He does not offer comfort to those who wish to make the correct declaration once and then return to their habitual patterns. He is explicit. One correct I am declaration followed by 20 contradictory ones produces no result. Not a diminished result, not a partial result, no result. Because the field is receiving a contradictory instruction set, and the net signal it extracts from that contradiction is the one that has the most accumulated weight, which in most practitioners is the habitual, unconscious, limiting one. The maintenance of the declaration is not an optional refinement for the advanced student. It is the law itself. Consistency of identity is not a practice layered on top of the law. It is the law's primary requirement. Holmes specifies that maintenance is not achieved through effort, through gritting teeth and forcing the mind back to the correct declaration each time it wanders. Maintenance achieved through effort is maintenance performed by the personal self, and the personal self is exhaustible. Holmes's maintenance is achieved through settled certainty, the kind of certainty that does not require effort because it does not doubt. A person who is absolutely certain they are healthy does not have to work to prevent themselves from thinking they are ill. The certainty is the default. The maintenance of the I am declaration follows this same principle. The practitioner who has genuinely understood, not intellectually agreed with, but genuinely understood at the level of identity that they are the first cause, that they are the power, does not then have to effortfully prevent contradictory declarations. The certainty itself is the mold. The certainty is the maintenance. This is why the audit and the replacement are prerequisites, not alternatives, to the maintenance step. If you attempt to maintain a declaration, you have not yet genuinely adopted at the level of identity. If you are repeating the correct I am while simultaneously holding the felt conviction of the limited one, then the maintenance is the maintenance of a performance, not an identity. And the subconscious is not impressed by performances. It responds to identity. The sequence, therefore, is precise. First, see with complete clarity what you have actually been declaring. Second, construct with complete precision what you are choosing to declare instead. Third, hold that declaration in place not with effort, but with the gradually increasing certainty of someone who is recognizing step by step the identity that was always theirs, and watching the field reorganize gradually but inevitably to confirm what was declared. Holmes acknowledges that in the beginning of this practice, the certainty is not total. There will be moments of doubt. There will be moments when the evidence of the senses, the current circumstances, the gap still visible between the declaration and the experience, challenges the declaration with the authority of the measurable and the visible. Holmes's response to this is not to dismiss the senses or pretend the current circumstances do not exist. His response is to understand them correctly. The current circumstances are not evidence against the new declaration. They are the precise product of the previous declaration now in the process of being replaced. They are the previous blueprint still standing as a building while the new blueprint is already in the hands of the builder. The building will come down. The new structure will rise, not because you willed it hard enough, because the first cause does not build two contradictory structures simultaneously. It always builds the most current, most consistently held instruction it has received. And the moment the new I Am declaration becomes more consistent, more certain, more habitual than the previous one, the field's construction activity shifts completely and irrevocably to the new design. The three steps, audit, replacement, maintenance, are the complete operative sequence. They are not mysterious. They are not reserved for the advanced practitioner or the spiritually gifted. They are available to any person who is willing to do the work with the precision Holmes specifies. Not the effort of straining, but the precision of genuine attention. The person who audits carelessly, who constructs replacements casually, who maintains with effort rather than certainty, will produce partial and inconsistent results. Not because the law failed, but because the precision was not there. The person who audits completely, constructs exactly, and maintains with the certainty of established identity will produce results that Holmes himself described as mathematically certain, as inevitable as the output of a correctly configured equation. The law does not have good days and bad days. It does not respond more generously on Tuesdays than on Thursdays. It responds to the declaration. Correct the declaration. The law will do the rest. Holmes called it the greatest poverty in metaphysics. Not the most common error, not the most understandable mistake, the greatest poverty, because it is the one error that hollows out every correct technique that is built on top of it, making the entire structure beautiful in its architecture and completely inoperative in its function. You may have been living inside this poverty for years, perhaps decades, without ever having it named with the precision it requires. It is about to be named now. The first and most foundational mistake is the I am trying declaration. When you say, I am trying to become abundant, I am working on becoming healthy, I am on my way to the life I want, you are not making a positive declaration about your direction of travel. You are making an absolute present tense, legally binding decree about your current identity. You are declaring with the full force of I am, which the subconscious receives as first cause, that your current identity is that of someone who has not yet arrived, someone for whom the condition is still future, someone for whom the law is not yet in operation, and the subconscious, being completely impersonal, executes this declaration with total precision. It organizes your entire life, your perception, your behavior, your biochemistry, the opportunities you recognize and the ones you miss, to confirm the identity of someone who is still on their way, someone who, by the law's own mechanical accuracy, will always be on their way, because every I am declaration they issue confirms the same fundamental identity, not yet there. Holmes was among the most rigorous teachers in the New Thought tradition on this specific point, and his precision here is indispensable. The I am law has no future tense. It has no present progressive tense. It has no conditional tense. It operates exclusively in the simple present, in the declaration of what is, not what will be or what is becoming. This is not a stylistic preference. It is a structural requirement arising from the nature of the subconscious, which does not have a future reference point. The subconscious does not understand tomorrow. It understands now. And when you declare I am becoming powerful, it receives that declaration exactly as stated, as a description of your current state, which is the state of becoming, which is, by definition, the state of not yet being. The I am trying to achieve remains perpetually in the future, because the declaration of trying places it there with the force of law. The correction is not subtle. It is the most direct correction in Holmes's entire system. Stop declaring what you are trying to become. Declare what you are, not what you will be when the circumstances improve, not what you hope to establish through sufficient practice, not what you aspire toward as a future state. What you are, present tense, at the level of the identity that stands beneath every accumulated circumstance. I am the source of my supply. I am the intelligence that governs this body. I am the power. These are not lies you are telling yourself in the face of contradictory evidence. They are the most accurate statements available about the identity you hold at the level of first cause. The circumstances that appear to contradict them are not evidence against them. They are echoes of previous declarations, playing out with perfect fidelity. Make the new declaration with the same fidelity, and the new circumstances will follow with the same inevitability. The second mistake is the qualified declaration, and this one is subtler, more insidious, and in Holmes's assessment, equally fatal to the operation of the law. The qualified declaration sounds like this: I am powerful in my spiritual life, but not in my finances. I am confident in my professional domain, but not in my relationships. I am the source of wisdom, but not of physical health. Each of these statements appears to be a reasonable acknowledgement of a person's actual experience, a sophisticated, honest, non-delusional recognition of where they are strong and where they are still working. It appears to be the opposite of wishful thinking. In Holmes's system, it is the most precise form of self-sabotage available. The I am is indivisible. Holmes was explicit about this, and the logic behind his assertion is straightforward. If the I am is the individual expression of the one universal mind, if it is the localized point through which the first cause operates in your specific life, then it cannot be divided by category. The ocean is not wet in some areas and dry in others. The universal mind is not powerful in some domains of your life and impotent in others. The limitation exists in the declaration, not in the source. When you say, I am the power except in my finances, you are performing surgery on the mold, cutting a precise hole in exactly the area where you need it to hold the substance. And the subconscious, executing the mold with perfect accuracy, produces a life that is exactly what was declared. Powerful in most areas and precisely, reliably, consistently limited in the one area where the exception was made. Holmes teaches that partial acceptance of identity produces partial results, and that the partiality is always exact. The hole in the mold is the hole in the life. This is why people who are accomplished in one domain and perpetually blocked in another are not experiencing bad luck in the blocked area. They are experiencing the precise execution of a qualified I am declaration. They have established their identity as the power in the areas where the declaration was complete, and they are experiencing the precise absence of that power in the area where the qualification was inserted. The remedy is not to work harder on the blocked area. The remedy is to remove the qualification, to extend the I am, to include every domain of life, without exception, without caveat, without the reasonable-sounding acknowledgement that some areas are still a work in progress. Holmes' language on this is precise enough to bear direct engagement. The I am must be total, or it produces a precisely partial outcome. Total means no domain is exempted. No category is declared off limits for the operation of the law. No part of your life is treated as a special case where the first cause does not fully apply. This is not a declaration that you are perfect or that you have no areas for growth. It is the declaration of the identity from which all growth proceeds. The identity of the one who is the power in every domain in this moment, regardless of what the current conditions appear to confirm. The conditions will catch up to the declaration. They always do. The declaration precedes the manifestation, always without exception, by mathematical law. There is a third error that Holmes addresses with equal gravity, though it is less commonly taught: the error of intermittent declaration. This is the practitioner who makes the correct I am declaration in the morning, feels its truth for a period of time, and then returns to the habitual identity for the rest of the day, treating the spiritual practice as a separate compartment of life rather than as the continuous declaration of identity that it must be. Holmes's view of this is unambiguous. The law does not operate in compartments. It operates continuously. The subconscious does not receive instructions only during the designated practice period and suspend its construction activity for the remaining hours of the day. It is continuously building, continuously executing the most current and most consistent identity declaration it has received. An intermittent correct declaration, surrounded on all sides by hours of default limited identity, produces the same result as a correct mold applied for 10 minutes and then removed before the substance can set. The form does not hold. The results appear, briefly, then dissolve, which the practitioner then interprets as the law being inconsistent, when in fact the law is being perfectly consistent with the inconsistency of the declaration. The diagnostic picture that emerges from Holmes's identification of these errors is a coherent one. The practitioner who has been applying every technique without producing consistent results is not failing for lack of knowledge or effort. They are failing because they are making correct declarations inside an incorrect identity structure. The declarations are the leaves. The identity is the root. You can tend the leaves with extraordinary care, polish each one, arrange them with precision, study their condition daily. But if the root is issuing a contradictory instruction to the entire tree, the leaves will not sustain. Holmes's correction goes to the root. It asks a single diagnostic question. What is the I am declaring at the level of default identity, the level that operates without your conscious attention? Locate the answer with the precision the audit provides. Apply the replacement with the craft it requires, and hold the maintenance with the certainty it demands. The errors are not permanent. They are patterns, and patterns can be rewritten with the same law that wrote them. Holmes left a body of work that contains, scattered across dozens of texts and lectures, a set of precise, unambiguous directives about the operation of the I am. Statements so specific in their instruction that they function less as philosophical observations and more as engineering specifications. This section assembles the most operative of those directives and presents them with the precision they were intended to carry. The foundational directive is this: Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Automatically. Not gradually, not with sufficient effort, not if conditions cooperate. Automatically. Holmes selected that word with full awareness of its implications. An automatic consequence is a consequence that requires no additional intervention beyond the initial cause. When you change the conception of the self, when you revise the operative I am from a limited identity to its true one, the change in the world is not a hoped-for result that may or may not materialize. It is the automatic consequence of having changed the cause. The world does not need to be persuaded, attracted, or coaxed. The world is the field, and the field is the body of the I am. And when the I am changes, the body changes automatically, completely, with the same inevitability that a change in a mathematical equation produces a change in its output. The second directive follows with logical necessity. You cannot become what you want to become while maintaining the mental image of what you currently are. This is the precise mechanical explanation for why so many aspirational practices fail. The aspiration points toward a desired future state. The mental image points toward the current state. And the mental image, the self-concept, the background I am, the habitual identity, is not just one input among many. It is the mold. The aspiration is a thought placed inside the mold, and it cannot take a shape larger than the mold allows. A desire for abundance poured into a self-concept of insufficiency does not produce abundance. It produces the experience of desiring abundance from a position of insufficiency. The desire is real. The self-concept is real. The field executes both. And what it produces is not abundance. It is the energized experience of wanting abundance while being, at the identity level, someone who does not have it. Holmes's remedy for this is not to abandon the desire. It is to revise the self-concept, to change the mental image of the current self to match the identity that would naturally hold the desired condition, not by pretending the current conditions do not exist, not by forcing a false cheerfulness that bypasses the genuine assessment of where one stands, but by recognizing with intellectual rigor that the current conditions are the product of the current self-concept, and that the self-concept is not fixed reality. It is a declaration. It was constructed from accumulated I am completions, some chosen, many unconscious, most never examined with the precision Holmes is now asking you to apply. And what was constructed through declaration can be revised through declaration. This is not a philosophical consolation. It is the operational implication of a system in which consciousness is first cause. The I am must precede the manifestation, always without exception, by mathematical law. Holmes returns to this formulation repeatedly across his work, and its implication is one that the spiritual student who has been waiting for circumstances to improve before feeling authorized to claim a new identity must hear with complete clarity. The sequence is not, circumstances improve, then I can believe in a new I am. The sequence is, I am, is declared as new. Then circumstances reorganize to confirm it. Reversing the sequence is not a humble approach to the law. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of which element is cause and which is effect. Circumstances are effects. The I am is cause. To wait for the effect before establishing the cause is to wait for a calculation to display its answer before entering the equation. The answer does not exist until the equation is entered. The manifestation does not exist until the I am is declared. Holmes also specifies the quality of the declaration with precision that is worth dwelling on. The declaration must be made from a position of knowing or not hoping. The practitioner who says I am the power and simultaneously feels uncertain whether this is true has not made a declaration. They have made a question. And a question handed to the subconscious is not an instruction. It is a request for information. The subconscious, which stores the accumulated evidence of the lifetime, responds to questions by consulting the historical record and reporting back. Here is the evidence from your past that answers your question. And the answer, based on the historical record, is almost always the answer you did not want. The declaration made from knowing bypasses this consultation entirely. It does not ask the subconscious to evaluate its plausibility. It presents itself as a given, as a fact already established, already complete, requiring only the subconscious's acknowledgement and execution. This quality of knowing is not arrogance. It is the natural consequence of understanding the law well enough to trust it. Holmes describes this quality of knowing as treatment, the spiritual mind treatment that is the signature technology of the science of mind. A treatment is not a prayer of petition. It is not a negotiation with the divine. It is the practitioner standing in full recognition of their identity as the individualized expression of the infinite, declaring the truth of that identity in relationship to a specific condition, and accepting the declaration as already complete. The acceptance is the completion. When Holmes says treat yourself to the recognition that you are the power, that I am is the operative identity of the first cause, expressed as you in this moment with no distance and no delay. He is not asking you to pretend a thing is true. He is asking you to recognize the thing that is true, beyond the layer of appearances that has been mistaken for truth. The appearances are the mold's previous output. They are not the mold. Change the mold, and the appearances must follow. Not because you have convinced the universe to cooperate, but because the universe has no alternative. It is governed by law, and the law is yours to operate. In 1927, when Ernest Holmes was developing what would become the science of mind, he was working from a framework of philosophical idealism. The understanding that consciousness is the primary substance of reality, and that the physical world is the expression of consciousness rather than its cause. He built his system on this premise with the rigorous confidence of someone who believed he was describing actual operative law, not spiritual metaphor. Decades later, a branch of physics would arrive at descriptions of physical reality that bear a relationship to Holmes's framework so precise that it demands examination, not as mystical validation, but as independent scientific corroboration of the mechanism he had already identified. Quantum mechanics, specifically the phenomenon known as the observer effect, established something that continues to challenge classical assumptions about the nature of reality. In quantum systems, a particle does not occupy a specific location or possess a specific state until it is observed. Before observation, it exists as a wave function, a mathematical description of all the possible states it could occupy, all of which are simultaneously real at the quantum level. The act of observation by a conscious observer collapses this wave function, It reduces the infinite range of possibilities to a single, definite particle in a specific location with specific properties. The observer does not choose the outcome by wishing for it. The observer's state, the nature of the observation itself, determines which possibility becomes the actual. The philosophical implications of this finding were among the most debated in 20th century science, and they remain contested. But the observable fact, the fact that underlies all the debate, is not contested. The observer is not a passive recorder of a pre-existing reality. The observer is an active participant in the determination of what becomes real. The very act of conscious observation, the very presence of a conscious state in relationship to a quantum system, is the mechanism by which possibility becomes actuality. The field of infinite potential is not indifferent to the observer. It responds with the precision of a law, not the favoritism of a disposition, to the state of the conscious being that engages with it. Holmes wrote that the first cause is consciousness, that the universal mind is the substance of all things, and that the individual, as the localized expression of that mind, is the operative point through which first cause acts in a specific location. This is not the same language as quantum mechanics, but the structural relationship between the two descriptions is worth examining with care. In Holmes's system, the field of infinite possibility, the universal mind, the subconscious soil, responds to the state of the conscious observer, the I am, the declared identity. In quantum mechanics, the field of infinite possibility, the superimposed wave function, responds to the state of the conscious observer, the observation, the measurement. The parallel is not incidental. It suggests that what Holmes was describing philosophically and quantum physics was describing mathematically may be two languages pointing at the same underlying mechanism. The critical point for the practitioner is this: the observer's role in the quantum framework is not to request a result. The observer does not ask the wave function to collapse in a particular direction. The observer's state, the nature, quality, and precision of the observation itself, determines the outcome. This maps directly onto Holmes's most fundamental instruction about the I am. You do not request abundance from the field. You do not ask the universal mind to cooperate with your desire. You declare the identity. I am the source through which this supply flows, and the field, which is your own deeper nature responding to the state of the conscious point that is you, collapses its infinite range of possible configurations around the identity you have declared. Not because you earned it, not because the field is sympathetic to your request, because the observer state is the only operative input the system has. It responds to what you are. Holmes wrote this principle 50 years before quantum mechanics gave it a name, and he wrote it with the calm authority of someone who had arrived at it through a different but equally rigorous process. The process of applying the principle, observing its results across thousands of individual cases, and refining the description until it matched the evidence. The quantum physicist arrives at the observer effect through the controlled laboratory experiment, through the double-slit demonstration, through the mathematics of the Schrödinger equation. Holmes arrived at the same essential principle through the controlled laboratory of human experience, through the documented case studies of his own practice and the practice of his students, through the careful observation of the relationship between the state of the practitioner and the nature of the results produced. The convergence of these two very different methods of investigation at the same structural description of how consciousness interacts with the field of possibility is not, in Holmes's framework, a coincidence. It is confirmation. Consider the observer effect in the context of the I Am declaration now, with the full weight of this understanding. When you say, I am limited, when the identity you are carrying into your engagement with the field is the identity of the limited, separate, insufficient self, you are the observer whose state collapses the wave function of infinite possibility into the specific configuration that matches your observed identity. The universe is not punishing you. The field is not being ungenerous. The observer whose state is limitation is collapsing the field around limitation with the same mathematical precision that the quantum system collapses around the state of its observer. It is not personal. It is law. And law, unlike personality, can be worked with. Law, unlike the dispositions of an external deity, responds to the same input every time, without variation, without mood, without inconsistency. Holmes is describing, and quantum mechanics is confirming, a universe in which consciousness is not a passenger observing a fixed reality from the outside. Consciousness is the mechanism through which the infinite range of possible realities becomes the specific one that is experienced. Your I am is not a thought about your life. Your I am is the operative state of the observer that collapses the wave function of your life into its specific form. Change the I am. Change the state of the observer, and the wave function must collapse into a different configuration. Not might. Must. Because the law that governs the quantum system does not have exceptions. Neither does the law Holmes describes. They are, in their essential structure, the same law. This brings us to the most operationally significant implication of the quantum parallel. In quantum mechanics, the observer does not need to understand the mathematics of wave function collapse for the collapse to occur. The physics operates regardless of the observer's comprehension of it. The double-slit experiment produces its results whether the scientist who set it up understands quantum theory or not. The law operates on the presence of the observer, not on the observer's understanding. In Holmes's system, the same principle applies with an additional dimension. The observer who understands the law can direct the collapse deliberately, while the observer who does not understand it directs it by default, through the habitual unconscious I am that operates continuously beneath the level of deliberate attention. You have been collapsing the wave function of your life since the first moment you said I am as a functional identity. You have been directing the field since before you had language for it. The only question that has ever been on the table is whether you are directing it consciously, with precision, toward the identity you have chosen, or unconsciously, by default, toward the identity that accumulated from every unexamined I am completion you have made throughout your life. The observer effect also illuminates why Holmes's insistence on present tense identity declaration is not merely stylistic. In quantum physics, the observation occurs in the present moment. The measurement is made now. The wave function collapses now. There is no future observation that collapses the current wave function. There is only the current observation acting on the current state of the system, producing the current collapse. When you declare I am in a future tense, I will be powerful, I am becoming abundant, you are not making a current observation. You are making a commentary about a future one. And the current wave function, the current state of the field you are engaging with right now, responds to the current observation, which is the observation of someone who has not yet made the declaration that matters. Holmes's insistence on the present tense of the I am is the exact equivalent of the physicist's requirement that the observation must be current and direct. The collapse happens when the observation is made. The reorganization of the field happens when the I am is declared. Now, present tense, without qualification or postponement. Holmes further describes something that the quantum framework also implies. The state of the observer must be consistent for the collapsed configuration to stabilize. In quantum physics, the wave function can be resuperimposed. The particle can return to a state of indeterminate possibility if the measurement is withdrawn or contradicted. This is the quantum equivalent of Holmes's maintenance requirement. The configuration produced by the correct I am declaration is not automatically permanent. It is the result of a continuous state of observation, a continuous identity declaration. And it remains stable as long as that declaration remains consistent. Introduce contradictory declarations. I am powerful, then I am afraid. Then I am the source, then I am not sure. And the collapsed configuration begins to destabilize. The field is receiving a contradictory observational state, and it responds to the average of that contradiction, which is incoherence. Holmes's requirement of maintenance is not arbitrary spiritual discipline. It is the precise mechanical requirement for maintaining a stable quantum configuration in the field of your life. The convergence, then, is not superficial. It is structural. Two completely independent systems of inquiry, one philosophical and experiential, developed in the early 20th century, one mathematical and experimental, developed across the same and subsequent decades, have arrived at compatible descriptions of the relationship between conscious observation and physical reality. The observer determines the collapse. The observer's state is the operative input. The field has no identity independent of the observation it receives. This is Holmes's universe. This is also, to a striking degree, the universe that physics is describing, and the practitioner who understands both is not standing at the intersection of spirituality and science looking for reassurance. They are standing at the recognition that there was never a contradiction to begin with, only two languages describing, with different vocabularies, the same fundamental law. Holmes did not need quantum mechanics to validate his system. His system stands on its own logical architecture, and it produced results in the lives of its practitioners that were, by any standard of measurement, remarkable. But the practitioner living in this moment has access to something Holmes's first students did not: the recognition that the most rigorous experimental science available has arrived by a completely different path at the same essential description of the relationship between consciousness and reality. That recognition does not prove Holmes right to a skeptic who demands laboratory conditions, but it does provide the intelligent, experienced practitioner, the one who has lived in this audience long enough to no longer be satisfied with faith alone, with something more operationally useful than proof. It provides confirmation that the mechanism is real, that it is consistent, and that it can be operated with the confidence due to any law that has been observed, measured, and confirmed by independent sources across independent disciplines. He came to Holmes after 20 years of study. That is the detail worth holding, not 2 years, not 5, 20 years, in which time he had read every major text, studied with multiple teachers, attended every seminar his resources allowed, and applied every technique the tradition offered with the kind of disciplined consistency that most practitioners never achieve. He could quote Holmes himself, chapter and verse. He could explain the mechanics of spiritual mind treatment with the precision of someone who had taught them to others. He understood, intellectually, every principle that every New Thought master had ever committed to paper. And his material life, at the end of 20 years, was no different in its essential structure from what it had been at the beginning. The gap between his knowledge and his results was, if anything, wider than when he started, because it now had 20 years of sincere effort stacked on the side of the knowledge and 20 years of unchanged conditions stacked on the side of the results. He described his practice to Holmes in detail. Holmes listened. He was, by all accounts of those who knew him, a practitioner of extraordinary listening, someone who attended to what was said and, more importantly, to what was revealing itself beneath what was said. When the man finished his account, Holmes did not offer a refinement of technique. He did not suggest a new practice or identify a step the man had been performing incorrectly. He asked one question. He asked, "When you say I am, who do you believe is speaking, you or the infinite?" The man stopped. The question located something that all 20 years of study had not dislodged, a foundational assumption so deeply embedded in the architecture of his practice that it had never once been examined because it had never once been recognized as an assumption. He had been using the I am as a technique. He had been treating it as a tool, a powerful tool, the most powerful tool in the New Thought arsenal, but a tool nonetheless, applied by a limited personal self to influence a field of reality that existed at some level outside that self. He had been, in the precise language Holmes would use, a wave petitioning the ocean. He had been practicing, with extraordinary sincerity and discipline, the fundamental architectural error that produced the fundamental architectural result. No sustained breakthrough because the cause, the identity, had never changed. Holmes's correction was delivered in a single sentence, with the calm authority of someone stating an arithmetic fact. There is no you applying the law to the field. You are the field, expressing as the law, speaking as I am. There is only one, and you are it in this moment. The sentence is worth dissecting because each clause carries an independent operative instruction. There is no you applying the law to the field. This eliminates the entire framework of the separate practitioner using a tool on an external reality. You are the field. This establishes the identity, present tense, without qualification or future tense. Expressing as the law, this describes the mechanism. The field does not submit to the law from outside it. It expresses as the law from within it. Speaking as I am, this identifies the operative command. The I am is not the practitioner's appeal to the infinite. It is the infinite's own self-declaration. occurring through the form called you. There is only one. This seals the logic, the multiplicity of apparent selves, the apparent distance between the practitioner and the infinite, the apparent gap between the declaration and its manifestation. All of these are appearances arising from within the one, which is the only thing that exists. 3 months later, the man's circumstances had reorganized entirely. The specific conditions Holmes describes in versions of this account are less important than the time frame and the mechanism. 3 months, not 3 decades of additional practice, not a heroic spiritual effort added to the previous 20 years of heroic spiritual effort. 3 months, with no change in the techniques, no new methods, no additional seminars or texts. The technique had not changed. The identity had. The wave had recognized itself as the ocean. And the ocean, being what it always was, simply poured itself through the previously constricted form with the fullness it had always possessed. The technique, the same affirmations, the same treatments, the same visualizations that had produced no result when operated by a limited self. Petitioning an external field now produced complete reorganization when operated by the identity that understood itself as the field's own expression. Same tool, different hand, different results, not as a matter of degree, but as a matter of kind. This story is not presented as inspiration. It is presented as diagnostic evidence. What changed between the 20 years and the 3 months was not the man's sincerity, not his effort, not his knowledge, not his technique. What changed was the answer to the question Holmes asked. When you say I am, who do you believe is speaking? If the answer is the limited personal self applying a law to an external field, then all the technique in the world will produce the results that limited self is capable of producing. If the answer is the infinite, expressing as this individual, speaking as first cause through the form called you, then the same technique becomes the operative instrument of the only power that exists, and the results it produces are determined not by the limitations of the personal self, but by the nature of the infinite that is expressing as it. This is Holmes's central diagnostic. It is the question that cuts through 20 years of practice in a single sentence and identifies the operative error at its root. And it is the question being offered to you now, not as a philosophical inquiry to be contemplated at leisure, but as a precise diagnostic instrument to be applied immediately to this specific moment of your practice, to the I am declarations you will make in the next hour. When you say, I am the power, who do you believe is speaking? If there is any residual sense that you, the personal self, with its history, its doubts, its accumulated evidence of limitation, are the one making the declaration, then you are still the wave petitioning the ocean. The correction is not to make the declaration more forceful. The correction is to understand who is making it. It is the ocean declaring its own depth. Through you, as you. There is no distance. There never was. The search for power ends the moment you recognize that the search itself was the only obstacle. Not the most significant obstacle, not one of several obstacles to be addressed in sequence. The only obstacle because the search, by its very structure, presupposes the absence of the thing sought. You cannot search for what you already are. You can only recognize it, and the recognition is not the end of a long journey toward power. It is the sudden clarity that the journey was always occurring inside what you were seeking, like a dream in which you search the house for the light while every room is already illuminated. Holmes built his entire system on this recognition, and the system works not because it teaches you to acquire power, but because it teaches you to stop the one action that was preventing you from experiencing the power that was never absent. Power, in Holmes's framework, is not a force that exists somewhere and can be directed toward you under the right conditions. It is not a divine commodity dispensed to the sufficiently spiritual. It is not accumulated through practice, earned through discipline, or granted through grace. It is the identity of the first cause. And the first cause, the one universal mind, is what you are, not analogously, not as a poetic approximation, as the precise mechanical description of what the I am is at the level of its truest identity. You are not a small self trying to connect to something large. You are the large thing, expressed as this specific, small-seeming form. In this specific moment, in this specific location, the power is not coming. It is here. It is what you are made of. The mold is already filled with the substance of the infinite. The only question remaining is what shape the mold has been given. Holmes taught that the entire science of mind rests on a single realization. One realization that, when genuinely understood, makes everything else in the system operative for the first time. The realization is this: there is one universal mind, and I am its individual expression, not a fragment, not a receiver, not a vessel through which the power occasionally flows on its way somewhere else. The operative point through which all causation flows in this exact location at this exact moment as this exact identity. The wave is not the ocean minus something. The wave is the ocean at a specific point of expression, and the expression is not diminished by its specificity. It is the ocean's fullness appearing in a specific form, with all of the ocean's nature available at every point of that form. The recognition is the mechanism. Holmes repeats this in various formulations throughout his work, and it bears the same emphasis here. It is not that recognition leads to access to power, as though recognition were a prerequisite step, and power were the subsequent reward. Recognition is not the door. Recognition is the arrival. The moment the thinker within you perceives its own nature without qualification, without the hesitation of doubt, without the residue of the old assumption that something is missing, the field responds not as a consequence delayed in time, but as an immediate reorganization of the pattern. Holmes was precise about this sequence, and precision here is everything. The mechanism does not operate on a schedule external to your awareness. It operates in exact correspondence with the clarity of your identity. When the identity is clear, the field is clear. When the identity is fractured by doubt, the field mirrors the fracture. The recognition, therefore, is not a spiritual achievement to be attained. It is a correction to be made once, completely, without reservation. Holmes taught that the entire science of mind rests on a single realization. There is one universal mind, and I am its individual expression, not a fragment, not a receiver, not a passenger in a system too vast to comprehend. The operative point through which all causation flows in this exact location, at this exact moment. This is not a poetic description of a spiritual experience reserved for the advanced practitioner. It is the foundational mechanical fact of what you are, operating right now, whether you have acknowledged it or not. The universal mind does not withhold its nature from its own expression any more than the ocean withholds its nature from its own wave. The question has never been whether you are this. The question has only ever been whether you know it, and whether that knowing is complete enough to function as the first cause it has always been. You have been standing at the door asking to be let in. This image must land with precision because it describes exactly the posture of the spiritual student who has spent years in earnest practice and still stands at the threshold wondering why the door has not opened. The door was never locked. More than that, you were never outside it. Every technique you applied, every visualization you sustained, every affirmation you declared with sincerity and discipline was performed by someone who believed they were on the outside attempting to communicate with something on the inside. And that single assumption, that structural error in the blueprint, is the only reason the results have not matched the effort. You are not a supplicant. You are not a petitioner. You are not a student waiting for admission. You are the architect of the building, and you have been knocking on your own door. The I am is not a key. It is not a technique for gaining access to something that exists separately from you. It is the recognition that you were never separated from what you were seeking. Consider what this means for the years of practice behind you. Every tool worked to the degree it did because every tool was an imperfect approximation of this single truth. Visualization works to the extent that it brings the mind into alignment with a declared identity. Affirmation works to the extent that it repeats an identity claim until the subconscious accepts it as law. Prayer works to the extent that it dissolves the assumption of separation. They were all pointing here. Holmes was not introducing a new technique to add to your collection. He was identifying the single operative principle that all other techniques were attempting to reach by indirect means. You have been circling the center. This is the center. Stop requesting. This is a directive, not a suggestion, and it must be heard with the full weight of its implication. Every request is a declaration of a gap between the self who asks and the reality that is asked for. Every petition is a structural confirmation of separation. Every appeal to a higher power imagines a hierarchy in which you occupy the lower position, dependent on the decision of something above you. Holmes dismantled this hierarchy not as a theological argument, but as a mechanical observation. There is no hierarchy in the field. There is only one, expressing at various points of self-awareness. When you declare I am from the position of the thinker who knows themselves as the operative point of first cause, you are not addressing the field. You are the field addressing itself. The request dissolves because there is no one to petition and no one to grant. There is only the law operating through the identity declared. Stop petitioning. Stop trying to connect to the source. This instruction may sound paradoxical to someone who has been taught that spiritual practice is the cultivation of connection. But Holmes was precise in a way that requires precision in return. You cannot connect to something you already are. The effort to connect implies a gap, and the implication of the gap is itself the obstacle. The practitioner who works daily on connecting to the infinite is daily confirming the assumption that they are not already it. The mold they are setting in the subconscious soil is the mold of incompleteness, of someone reaching towards something just beyond their grasp. And the field, which is impersonal and indiscriminate, mirrors the mold exactly. It produces a reality in which the source is always just slightly out of reach, because that is the precise instruction being given sincerely with great spiritual effort every day. Declare what you are, not what you wish to be, not what you intend to become, not what you are working toward. What you are, present tense, without qualification, without hedge, without the apologetic softening that the conditioned mind reaches for, because it has learned to fear the accusation of arrogance. There is no arrogance in a wave acknowledging that it is the ocean's force. There is only accuracy. I am the intelligence that governs this situation. I am the supply through which this resource flows. I am the health that is the natural expression of this body. I am the love that is the foundation of this relationship. Each of these declarations is not a wish dressed in present tense clothing. Each one is the first cause announcing its nature through the specific form called you. And that announcement, held in the subconscious soil without contradiction, becomes the pattern from which the circumstance is cast. Hold it without apology. The instruction is simple, and its difficulty is entirely psychological. The trained intellect, the cautious mind, the adult who has been disappointed before, will search for reasons to qualify the declaration. It will say, "But what about the evidence?" It will say, "But I cannot feel it yet." It will say, "But what if I am wrong?" Holmes addressed each of these objections with the same answer, expressed in different formulations across 40 years of writing and teaching. The evidence you observe is the result of previous declarations. It is not the counter-argument to your current declaration. It is the residue of a former blueprint. The feeling of reality will follow the declaration, not precede it. The declaration comes first because the declaration is the cause. The feeling of its reality is part of the effect. To wait until you feel it before you declare it is to mistake the effect for the cause and invert the entire sequence. And if you are wrong, Holmes would simply say, test it with the same rigor you would apply to any law. Apply it completely. Apply it consistently. And observe the result with the precision of a scientist, not the anxiety of a supplicant. Watch the field, which has no choice but to obey its own law. Organize itself around the identity you have claimed. This final instruction is perhaps the most important because of the phrase embedded within it: no choice. The field does not evaluate. It does not consider whether you deserve the identity you have declared. It does not check your history, your record of past successes or failures, your age, your financial position, or the number of years you have spent in practice without visible result. It is a mechanical law, indifferent in the most magnificent sense of that word. Gravity does not check credentials. The law of first cause does not read biographies. You declare. The mold is set. The subconscious accepts it as instruction and begins silently, systematically, without any further direction from you, to organize every faculty, every perception, every behavior, and every circumstance into alignment with the identity declared. This is not the promise of a system. It is the description of a mechanism that has been operating in your life from the moment you first became capable of forming the sentence that begins with "I am." The "I am" audit challenge begins now, and it begins not at some future moment of readiness, but in the next breath you take after this sentence. For the next 24 hours, your single operative task is this. Observe every I am statement that passes through your mind or your lips, every one of them, without editing, without correcting in real time, and without judgment. Write them down, spoken aloud or thought silently. The law makes no distinction. I am exhausted. I am not sure. I am behind. I am worried about this. I am never lucky with money. Every one of these completions is a decree. Every one of them is a blueprint handed to the subconscious as a command. You have been issuing these commands continuously for years with the full authority of the I Am, and most of them have been commands for precisely what you do not want. The audit is not a punishment. It is the first act of precision in a practice that has perhaps lacked it until now. At the end of the 24 hours, read the list. Read it slowly with the same attention you would give to a legal document, because that is what it is. What you hold in your hand is not a journal entry. It is the operative blueprint your subconscious has been executing, faithfully, impersonally, without a single deviation, since the moment you first began to think in these terms. That blueprint is not your fate. It cannot be your fate because fate implies a fixed external authority, and Holmes was unambiguous that there is no such authority external to the thinker. What you hold is your current instruction set, and instruction sets can be rewritten, not gradually, not over years of incremental adjustment, but completely at the level of identity. The moment the thinker decides to issue a different command from the only position that has any authority over the field, the position of I am, there is one piece of unfinished work available to you right now, and it is not symbolic. It is the law in immediate operation. In the comments below, write the I am statement you are choosing to hold as your operative identity starting today. Not a wish, not an intention, not a goal framed in present tense as a clever technique. What you are declaring yourself to be as first cause, as the operative point of universal mind in your specific location at this specific moment in your life. Write it as a decree. Write it with the full authority of the only voice that can set the mold, the voice of the thinker who has recognized what it is. The field will read what you write because you are the field. The subconscious will receive it as instruction because that is its only function. And the circuit, the one that has perhaps been incomplete for longer than you care to measure, will close in the moment you complete that sentence, not tomorrow, not after more preparation, but now. I am is always now. That is the only tense in which the law operates. Begin. Before you leave this space, there is one thing that will seal this understanding more permanently than any note you could take, more durably than any highlight or timestamp you could save. Think of one moment in your life, one specific moment, not a general pattern, not a vague feeling of alignment, but a single concrete event where the I am law was already working through you, for you, or against you, whether you understood it at the time or not. A moment when a declaration you held about yourself, conscious or unconscious, produced a result in the external world with the precision of a mathematical calculation. Write it below, not for this channel, not as a testimony for other viewers, for yourself, because the mind that can identify the law operating in its past has just acquired something of irreversible value. It has acquired the ability to recognize the mechanism, and the mind that can recognize the mechanism in the past has just activated the capacity to operate it with intention going forward. That recognition is not the beginning of a journey, it is the beginning of mastery. And mastery, as Holmes understood it, does not mean the acquisition of a skill. It means the recognition of what you have always been,